Surely my stepmother would stay faithful to my dad too, right? No. She started going for the kiss, but I quickly pushed her away and made it clear I was not interested. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, My Stepmother, a 37-year-old female, tried seducing me while my dad was away for business. And now my dad believes I was the one that tried to seduce her. And a big shout out to Joseph for sending me this story. And guys, this story, like the title says, is about a young guy. He's 22. He's in college, about to graduate and go on to his master's and all. And he doesn't exactly have the best relationship with his dad. It's not awful, but it's not great because his dad's always away on business and focused on his career. Well, that remaining level of relationship goes down the tubes after this whole thing goes down, with his stepmother trying to seduce him. And now he's wondering what the hell to do. Now, as I'm sure, I know what you guys are thinking. SSM. This sounds like BS. This sounds like something you'd find on PORN Hub. But then again, guys, truth is stranger than fiction. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've lived a long time. And crazy things do happen. So with that in mind, we're going to go through this story here. And again, you're going to see also how this guy definitely has suspicions about his stepmother. And in my opinion, this whole thing is on purpose to draw a wedge, so obviously she can benefit from the whole thing. But anyhow, you'll see how this thing plays out. It says, Hey everyone, I think the situation requires a decent amount of background information, so please be patient with me as I try to describe my current dilemma. He says here, there are so many different things going on. Everything happened within the last couple of days, and I've been trying to figure out a solution for myself, but I decided I need some old-fashioned advice from Reddit, so here we go. It's amazing how many people come here for advice. To start with the background, I am a current university student with plans to graduate at the end of the semester. My degree is pretty useless by itself though, so I've lined up a plan to start attending graduate school next year. But why are you majoring in something that's useless unless you have to have a master's to go along with it? Makes no freaking sense. I've been fortunate to get through most of college with little to no debt, and my dad has some money set aside for my graduate school studies. This will come up later. I live pretty independently from my dad and my stepmom, as the university I attend is not in my hometown. Plus, I do have a decent relationship with my father, but he always seems to be away on business trips. As for my stepmother, I'm pretty sure she's never liked me. I just pretty much avoid her as much as possible. Well, if his gut is telling him that she doesn't like him, listen to it. And you can't trust someone like this in this situation. So I'll start getting into the juicy part of the story. I never have been too interested in women in a sexual sense. I suppose I've been too busy with my academics and work. Dude, get in line. There are plenty of young guys out there exactly like you. They're just not interested nowadays given how the gals are, and you can't blame them one bit. However, I was recently talking with one of my best friends, and I was beginning to think about asking out a girl in one of my classes. For the sake of the story, we'll just call her Abby. Abby and I actually have some history, as we were coincidentally next door neighbors in our childhood neighborhood. However, my family ended up hating her family. I was too young at the time to understand what was going on, but apparently Abby's older brother were always getting on my dad's nerves. I think they broke one of our house's windows while playing baseball, and were generally loud, and they always scooped up dog crap from their yard into ours. Sound like a bunch of rascals. Me, being a little 7-year-old, didn't really care about that at all, but my dad's still bitter. Anyway, all this to say I ended up asking Abby out, and we ended up setting up a time for studying together. That's not a date, dude, doing a study session. A date is when you actually go out and do something. Have a drink, have a coffee, have a tea. But that's irrelevant. It's probably no big deal. It isn't, but I'm excited. So now imagine me a couple of days ago having a great time, high off the fact that I was actually successful for once, when I got myself into this terrible situation. I suppose my first mistake was coming home this weekend. As usual, my dad was not present and when I came home for the weekend, so it was just my stepmom and me. Well, wouldn't you think this guy would know that his dad's not going to be there? We usually just avoid each other as much as possible because, as I mentioned before, I'm pretty sure she hates me for whatever reason. Well, you're competition, that's why. Both for the father's affection as well as his money. This time, however, she tried starting up a conversation with me. It started with talking about my dad. She was complaining about how he's gone all the time and how it must be hard for me to have to live without a real father figure. I smell a setup. Well, of course she's complaining because that's what they do. And I'm sure she doesn't mind his money. Considering this is the topic, she decides to start with further conversation. I know I'm about to get into some serious, dangerous waters. But I guess I was naive in thinking that this situation would worsen. I know my dad isn't great, but I generally have confidence in him. Plus, he does help pay for my education. My stepmother then mentioned how she sees a lot of features in me that resemble my father. Which, to be fair, we look fairly similar. Maybe she was just tired of her husband not being around, and she was trying to see him in me. I don't know. But it just keeps getting worse. My sanity and normal life could be salvaged at this point of the conversation if it would have ended. But of course not. That'd be too easy, right? I should just leave because she's a creep. Well, already his gut's telling him something's wrong. And you gotta trust your gut, guys, in every situation. It doesn't make a difference what it is. But no, apparently she wanted to clarify what she was saying. She started rambling on about how she often wonders what would have happened if she and I met instead of her marrying my dad. I'd be like, what the hell? He says, like, what? I need to get out of there ASAP, but here's where the biggest problem is. In trying to understand what she was saying, I must have accidentally blushed or something. She is quite attractive, but I respect my father. I would never think about hooking up with his wife. I certainly hope so. Surely my stepmother would stay faithful to my dad too, right? Right? No. She started going for the kiss, but I quickly pushed her away and made it clear that I was not interested. So one of two things are going on here. Either she's always acted weird around him because she was attracted to him, or two, she acted weird around him, making him think she doesn't like him because she didn't like him, and this is her way to sabotage, perfect way to sabotage the situation with his dad, and get him out of the picture, and have her dad's all his attention, not to mention his money. I started grabbing my things so I could leave and go back to my university apartment, and she kept rambling on. Of course, after trying to make a move on me like that, she was pretty devastated with the aftermath. Either she didn't like him and she's now pissed off because of the rejection, or it's a whole big show. I'm inclined to think it's a big show. I went back to my apartment, and honestly, I figured I should continue on with my studies. I have an awesome date with Abby, and go on with my life, avoiding my stepmom as much as possible. In hindsight, perhaps I should have taken a more proactive approach in solving the problem with my stepmother, but I guess I was shell-shocked. What he should have done is contact his dad immediately, because you have a rejected woman who, if she did like him, she's rejected and pissed off about that, or this is part of her plan to cause a rift, and now she can get to him first. But this guy is young, 22, not that experienced, and he's shell-shocked. Anyway, fast forward to yesterday when I received a call from my dad. What could he be calling about? He was at home for once, which is super unfortunate timing. Let me tell you, he was absolutely fuming. He yelled about some disgrace and lack of trust in me, and then it all started to make sense. My stepmother must have flipped the script on me before I told my father about her trying to seduce me. I tried to plead my case, but his anger just kept spewing out of the phone. I even tried to tell him about Abby, but he didn't believe me. So, there you go. She got to him first, and she, obviously his wife, and probably got the tears and the drama and all this. Woe is me, he put the moves on me, I'm the innocent victim, blah, blah, blah. It's a fucking disgrace. And, yeah, this guy should have gotten to his dad first, but again, he's young, doesn't know. So this is where I need help. My father says he's going to stop helping me pay for university, and he's basically cutting me off. Oh, that works out for the stepmother. He's never been a fantastic guy, but he's successful in his career, and has been nice to not have to worry about too much about getting massive amounts of debt. I don't know what to do. I never had a great relationship with my stepmother to begin with, but now that's absolutely screwed up. Now my dad pretty much hates me as well, solely because he believes his wife is over me. It would be great if I could fix all this and pin the situation back on my stepmother somehow, but I'm just not sure he will ever trust me again. Well, obviously he was fired up, and I think when he calms down, cools off, this is when the young guy should talk to him in person and public place. And if the guys want to talk to him, probably send him a letter to his place of business or work, that way she can't get it, and explain what happened. And then if the dad doesn't listen to him, then he tried, and he's going to have to figure out a way. Obviously, some loans and all, so he can go on to grad school because he has a worthless bachelor's degree, and take care of himself as a young man should. Says, so there's a lot going on in my life right now, and I just don't know what to do. I've got my studies to worry about, a first date, family issues, all within the stresses caused by the pandemic. I just feel really screwed regardless, but hey, at least I have a date to look forward to. Dude, it's a study session. It's not a date. But fine. That makes you feel better in the shitty situation. Knock yourself out. But then you can ask her out on a real date later. And then again, you're 22. You should be focused on your grind. But that's another conversation. Do you think there's a way to fix any of these relationships? What should I do moving forward? So, like I said before, he should contact his dad. And if dad doesn't want to talk to him on the phone or meet him in person, send him a letter to his work explaining the whole thing in detail. And the story. And I'm convinced that she did it to put a rift and so she could benefit financially. Because, hey, what a perfect arrangement. He's not paying for this kid's school anymore. He's cutting him off. So that's more money for her to go on vacations with or buy a freaking foreign car or handbags or high heels or whatever the hell she likes to spend money on. But this guy should not just take this lying down. And I want to know, where's this guy's mother in the situation? What happened to her? You know? But if he doesn't meet with them, then he tried at least, and that's that. But then he may have to also then take out some loans to go to graduate school, start fending for himself. But he's 22, he's a young man, and that's about time he starts doing that. Now some comments here before I wrap this up. One guy says, I thought two things after reading this. Number one, she might have done it on purpose to put a stop in your relationship with your father. You think? Two, she did it so she would give her version before you had a chance to tell your father about what she did. If it's number two, she probably used to cheat on her partners and probably will cheat on your father, or she's doing it already since he travels a lot. If money isn't an issue, you could hire a private investigator to check on her. Speaking more realistically, you should tell your father your side of the story and plant the seed about her being a cheater. Maybe he'll check it out and find something that proves you right. Well, that's a good idea if the father even listens to him, which the father's all fired up about, so probably not this week. But also, he probably doesn't have any money to hire a PI. Also, by telling her piece before you, she took control of the narrative. That's what a lot of narcissistic people do. If I were you, I'd tell her my side of the story before all your relatives start to believe in hers. Yes. There's an idea. Another guy says here, try to set up your evil stepmother. Get a voice recorder and either confront her live on the phone. She may be stupid enough to brag about how she screwed you up and that you should have known better and gone with the flow. Hey, there's an idea too. Although him meeting up with her could get even worse with the father if done wrong. Another guy says here, tell him he can either believe the son he raised or the 8-year younger wife that complains she's lonely because he's gone all the time. That he needs to accept the consequences if he chooses to cut off the relation with you. The cut runs both ways. And last but not least, this is a funny one, so I had to read it. This guy says here, this sounds a lot like the start of 90% of the videos on PORN Hub. If the story is real, set up hidden camera and screw her and then show your dad a snippet of the evidence. Then you both get laid and your dad is undeniable proof his wife is a cheater. The best of both worlds. You got lemons and lemonades, bro. Well, I recommend he doesn't do that, as funny as that sounds. But anyhow, guys, you can't make this shit up, but truth is stranger than fiction. Could this be bullshit? Creative writing? It sounds like a lot like a video on PORN Hub. Yes. But then again, you just never know. And I've done enough of these and lived long enough to know there's a lot of crazy stuff out there you wouldn't believe. So I wish this guy the best. Hope he listens to the people in the comment section, aside from that comment, as well as people with have good advice like me. But guys, moral of the story is the old Mike Pence rule. Unless it's your girlfriend or wife, don't be alone with another woman because you never know what can happen. Does this mean they're all going to act this way? Of course not, but look at this situation here and many other stories I've covered before. And at the end of the day, who are the masses always going to believe? We know that.